All right, welcome in, folks. Welcome to the Texas to Tennessee podcast. Tonight, along with Soul Gravy, we have Mason Lively with us. We are super excited to have you here, and welcome.
Thanks, man. Thank y'all so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, our pleasure. Very much looking forward to this one.
Man, I thank you. I can't thank you enough. I appreciate it a ton. I came across your page on TikTok and I think you were playing some Zach Wilkerson or something like that. You were just doing like a cool DJ hour or whatever. And I was just feeling time. I think it was like cleaning up around the house or whatever. And I was playing it. And you saw that I joined up and you gave me a shout out. So I was like, all right, this guy's cool.
Thanks, man. Sometimes it works out right,
That's
sometimes not so much, but
honestly that's the whole point of what he does and what I do. I mean, we kind of it's to make those connections and spread the word about the music. Even leads over to the reason why we're going on the podcast. It's the same thing. So
We all are doing a good job at it. Yeah.
thanks,
Appreciate
man. If you don't mind, maybe just for the folks that aren't super familiar, giving us a little bit of your backstory, and then we'll get into maybe a little bit deeper questions.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in a little town called Victoria, Texas, just outside of Victoria and Inez, to be specific, little one stoplight town. And I picked up a guitar about age 14, and then quickly gave up on all football dreams I had and started strumming away at that. And ended up, just covering like some of my parents and grandparents' favorite songs that I'd grown up listening to, like Willie songs, Johnny Cash, stuff like that. And I got fairly good, fairly quick, and started writing quickly. And of course, those first few songs kind of sucked, but I eventually got to a point where I was writing stuff that people were like dismissing. They weren't dismissing it as like, oh, their kid or their grandkid. Just writing songs and putting stuff out there. It got to a point where people were like, whoa, the people around me and everything. So it's like, all right, I guess I'm good at this. So I'm going to keep chugging along at it. And so after high school, I moved to San Marcos, Texas, because I was a big fan of venues like Cheatham Street Warehouse and all that was going on over there in the New Braunfels and Austin being right down the road. And it was my excuse to go to college, but mostly try and play gigs and meet musicians and everything like that. And as soon as I started doing all the open mic nights that I could and all the song swaps and everything like that, I met some folks that were kind of on the booking and management side of things that ended up helping me along and kind of like introducing me into the world and the world of music. And I recorded my first record, Stronger Ties, at 20 years old at the Zone Studios in Dripping Springs, right up the road. So after making that record, which was really just, like I said, I was 20. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I knew I had some good songs. Put that out, and it really it caught on more than I thought I would, at least a couple songs. So we ended up hitting the road and opening up for guys like Parker McCollum when he was kind of on his come up, and Randy Rogers Band, Josh Abbott Band, all the Texas greats that I'd just been seeing in high school, seeing their shows or whatever when they'd come through town. So it was, it felt like it didn't happen quick, but it actually kind of did. And we're still on the train. We're just growing slowly but surely. And since then we've put out a couple records and just kept the ball rolling, man.
Cool. And Soul Gravy, for maybe for your benefit, San Marcos is where Texas State is. It's a beautiful campus. At some point, you want to get down there and check it out.
It's a cool town. I still live like 10, 15 minutes north of San Marcos, and it's really cool. Yeah, it's a good spot to really start out and kind of cut your teeth in.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess this is the other. I said there was only one weird question. This is the other weird question that I usually ask. So we call it the pie question. And I'm gonna give you a pie, and you have to divide it up into 4 sections. So
All right.
One section is songwriting, one section is recording, one section is performing, and then the 4th piece of pie is the business side of it. So where do you, I guess, naturally gravitate to if, one of those slices, and then where do you end up spending most of your time?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to write that chart down and really about my answer. Uh, and it used to be solely songwriting for the longest time, and then the performing kind of introduced itself, and it was songwriter, performing, business, and what was the fourth slice?
Recording.
Recording. Okay,
Yep.
and then recording, and then you find out about the business, and uh, you kind of do that once you've got the other three. At least you're good enough to start meeting the people that show you how the business works and everything like that. And I'd say I keep it all. I keep a pretty even pie. I cut it in four even slices now. I kind of have to because I like to keep a good hold on what we're doing as far as management goes, and I like to keep the connections that I make and everything like that. And all the shows that I've got on the calendar now are shows that I've reached out to people that I've wanted to open for, and just
Nice.
relationships that I made and venues and everything like that. That goes on the business side, and then as far as like the performing and the songwriting, I have a 18-month-old baby boy, and I'm married, and we just bought our first house. So I have a lot of other stuff going on. I wish I had. I was just telling my wife this the other day. It was like they. This is kind of like this has been said a lot, but it's really true. Like boredom is the best outlet for creativity, or I guess the best outlet for boredom is creativity. And um, when you're at the stage that I am in my life now, I'm all I do is kind of sit around and wonder what was I doing all day. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
I was bored, and I thought that my plate was full at that time, but I was, I had the time and I guess the aspirations to just write all the time and get better at writing. And I feel like I'm a better writer now just from doing it, and I'm better in all those aspects of it. I think because it took a lot of learning in each of those aspects for me. And now when I write with folks, like I just wrote with a buddy of mine named Thomas Shorba, who's a really good singer songwriter from Texas too, and just wrote on Zoom. Actually, this is my second Zoom call of the day.
Oh, cool.
So we started a tune together. So a lot of it's stuff like that. I'll write with somebody, or I'll Zoom write with somebody and start a song, finish one. There's only a couple in the last year that I've written myself. I hope to get better at that. Like I got spoiled with co-writing, so Wade Bowen ruined my writing experience. I met Wade Bowen and opened up for him a whole lot, and he introduced me to all these songwriters in Nashville, and I started going up there and writing a ton. And I just loved it. I love co-writing. I love bouncing ideas off of other great songwriters, and um, it got to a point where I was doing that so much that I kind of forgot how to write a song by myself. And now I'm on the journey to get back into really finishing. I've got so many pieces of songs I've started or ideas that I have that I don't have the gumption or the time to truly dig in and finish those. But yeah, working on that aspect of it at least.
That's cool. I guess maybe a little bit nerdy, but how you don't have to share, but if you want to, you can. Process wise, are you like notes in the phone? You
Mhm.
somebody that like jots stuff down? You
A
know.
lot of yeah, lines that I think are cool. Like we built this idea of this one song today just off of a line that I written down that kind of popped up in my head when I was driving. But it can be stuff like that. A lot of times I'm so much more of like a chord progression writer, like or just noodling on the guitar and then
Gotcha.
finding something that I think is cool. I really don't have a strict process of like how I start it. It's just it kind of just happens when it happens, and whichever comes first. If it's a good song, whichever comes first usually sparks um, that drive to really want to finish it, and whether it is really cool chords and humming a melody and then going into it from there, or a really cool line and finding where that fits and everything.
Nice. Okay.
It seems like a lot of people we've talked to lately have really a lot of people write more off of the melodies than I kind of would have thought. You know, from an outsider,
Yeah.
sometimes you think about they're just sitting there with some coffee and a pen and pad, and they're going to go at that every day. You know what I mean? Then the music would come afterwards. And I'm sure that a lot of songs are still written that way, and a lot of people probably still write that way. But I'm surprised at the amount of people we've talked to that catch the melody first and then start putting words to it too, or how much more that happens than I would have thought. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, it can be a really good way to do it because, or a really bad way. You just come up with something like this doesn't mean anything. But sometimes, if you already have, I guess, if you have that knack to really just feel like what you're playing and something sparks in your head, like you're kind of humming along a melody and they're like, oh, that's cool. Like a hook line or an idea, words will kind of come into your head and be like, this is something I could build off of. Then that's when it's a really, really good way to start a song, you know? I don't know what the easiest way to do it is. Maybe that might be the easiest way. That might be the most natural way to do it. But because
I
with me, like if I sit down and I'm like, I'm gonna write this kind of song, that never goes well for me.
understood, and I
Starting
could
with the
see.
concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see where noodling around would make you stumble on different song ideas compared to just going off, just pen and paper.
Yeah.
Um,
Songwriters don't have answers to this question. It's always just
yeah.
like, man, it's just the muse, dog.
How do you? I guess in what ways do you feel like your writing has changed when you were writing by yourself as a young lad, and now you're co-writing with the Nashville Cats? How does you feel like it's changed in any kind of direction, or just all for the better?
Yeah, it's changed for the better in the sense of like the quality of when I know something is done or something is worth recording.
I got you.
I now like I know where that barometer is and like what makes the song really worth completing, you know? I guess it makes things harder because you do have more expectation for yourself and you want to, you want to be better because you know you've done better than the stuff that you were writing when you were 20 or whatever. Because at that point, I was just writing, which was like, oh, this is something here, 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 here. You know, I'll still go back and listen to things. And I'm like, there's some good stuff in there because it was just so much word vomit and just throwing stuff at the wall and see what stuck. But yeah, it's harder in the sense of yeah, you build up your expectation and you're a little more disciplined with yourself as far as the quality of what you're doing. But sometimes I do just miss the taking the guardrails off, and not having that other voice in your head, and just like just let it go, just let it flow, and just write 100 crappy songs, and maybe a couple of those will be good.
Understood. Um, you mentioned that some of this already, but when you first got rolling, and you found yourself in some of the rooms with artists that you looked up to, uh, how was that mindset and getting on stage in front of them and all of that? Talk about that. Give us some stories from when that was going on, or even to today.
Yeah, it's always a little, not nerve wracking, but a little like, oh, you want to do the best you can. But, at 2021, I was so cocky and I wanted to, I was like, oh, I'm getting up here and I'm doing it, man. I'm showing them how good I am. And I am better now than I was then. So now I'm kind of like, well, you idiot. But
You're right.
still, yeah, it's always good. It's kind of the time where you can really, especially if they're like listening to the openers or that they're they have a vested interest and because they allowed you to be on their show for the evening. You want to do the best you can and get up there and just try and play a great show. Those are always more fun too because there's big crowds to play to.
Yep. Yeah. What about as far as just being around some of the artists that you, like I said, you grew up listening to, and then all of a sudden you're hanging out with somebody like that.
Man, it's cool. It's always so cool. Everybody's super nice. It's hard to find somebody that's Yeah, some of them are like, okay, they won't, they'll stay on their bus or whatever. You don't get a whole opportunity to talk to them or everything like that. But most of the time, everybody's cool, and especially if you're somebody that's been on a couple of their shows, and they welcome it. They're always willing to hang out with you on the bus and all that.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine they can see through the nonsense after a while. They know who to give their attention to and who not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like where I'm at now in that sense, because like, oh, here's somebody that's like, I at least get the sense from them, like, here's somebody who's still around, and is still, at least has a quality enough show and music to, you know keep he keeps popping up on these shows. So that's, must say something. So there's a new level of kind of respect, that I definitely feel, and I like these guys becoming, peers more than just, guys that are letting the little kid up on stage with them.
How long is that? How long have you actually been? I know you mentioned now you're married with a child and all that stuff, but how long? How many years have you actually been at touring like that?
It's been almost 7 years now. Yeah. So been a good minute. My everything started kind of taking off, right before, like, a year and a half before, 2020, and being in the spot that I was in, that was pretty hard to, like, oh, you're
Wow.
just like starting to build a career, and then everything kind of shuts down for a minute, and but it's been a really, really cool build, rebuild and everything like that. So, and I've had a lot of, different moments in my career where I'm like, I don't know, I kind of want to change things up a little bit, sound wise and everything like that. The more I've grown in confidence as an artist and really kind of finding my own sound and everything like that, the more clear vision I have, and the ability to have a sense of, like, not letting so many outside voices dictate or direct, where the sound's going to go and everything.
Gotcha.
Mason, 3 records, at least from what I can tell, 3 records, 3 different producers. Can you tell me a little bit about kind of that journey and how you have kind of moved along?
Yeah, yeah. I First one was produced by Pat Mansky there at, the Zone, and the second one was co-produced with Wade Bowen and Justin Pollard, and the third one, that we just released, was produced by a guy named Brian Phillips here in Austin. Um, I always try and kind of go for something a little different each record. So, and therefore I go with a different producer, and it's been a really cool experience so far, because I've gotten to, as I said earlier, like, flesh out, okay, who am I really as an artist, and what do I want to do? And each producer experience has been awesome. They've all been different, but they've just, they've made it clear for me as to, like, what I want to do specifically with production and the kind of songs that I want to put out and everything like that. And kind of they've steered the train a little bit, steered the tracks there.
Anything that you can share with us, maybe specifically that you've taken away? You don't necessarily have to say which one, but anything specifically that you've taken away from a more macro view of kind of building that sound that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of it's built more on, I think what I've kind of come around to now is building it more off of where I shine best vocally, and then less of, like, oh, I wrote this song, so I'm going to push really hard vocally, or I'm going to maybe, like, dress up a little bit more with some bigger guitars and, like, just bam, bam in your face. Like, I've really kind of laid it back, and I think that's kind of the pocket that I want to be in, kind of going forward as an artist,
Sure.
not chasing all the big, pop country hits or anything like that.
Yeah, well, that was one of the questions I think that I had. I knew, sounds like you've spent a decent amount of time in Nashville, but also at the same time, sounds like, from what I can gather, you're pretty happy in where you are.
Mhm.
Do you see that as a kind of a long-term proposition for you to be in that area between Austin and San Antonio?
Yeah, yeah. I had many chances to move to Nashville and to do that thing, and I just didn't I never felt I really absolutely had to. I was like, I'm making a good, forward motion here by coming up here a lot and meeting people and really building relationships with these songwriters and writing great songs with them. Because that's where Nashville is best. I think it's like you want to you want to grow as a songwriter and meet great songwriters and learn from them and everything like that. And you want to obviously go have drinks at the Red Door with the folks that are the A&R people for these records or publishing companies or record labels, anything. But you also want to like feel like what you're doing is true to yourself. At least I do, and that always means coming back home and playing shows down here and kind of living my life and finding out who I am more and more through the years.
Nice. I did see that you have, I think, a little bit of a run with Sean McConnell. Speaking of great people, that, at least that I think are really underrated producers. I don't know if you would consider him for a future album if he's available, but yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely, I would. I've listened to some of the stuff that he's produced, and he's awesome. He's a great underrated artist and songwriter as well.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
The opportunity came up, and I said, yeah, I'd love to do some shows with Sean. So we're doing 3 shows with him acoustic, Abilene, Lubbock, New Braunfels, Green Hall, legendary Green Hall. So super stoked with that one. And then, yeah, we got a lot of the really cool stuff to finish out the rest of the year.
Very cool. And maybe you could talk a little bit about, I think the most recent album came out this summer, or was it?
Yeah, July 12th.
August? July, okay. Maybe talk a little bit about what's been going on with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's called Burn the Ground. That's the one I did with Brian Phillips. Recorded it here in Austin and put it out July 12th. We ended up getting a show booked at the famous Antone's here in Austin, downtown Austin, and we wanted to line it up on the same day as the album release. So we made it as like our big album release party, and the hat and apparel company, Texas Hill Country Provisions, they were one of the big sponsors for it.
Oh,
and
cool.
I know those guys really well, and they were super cool, and they helped get the word out, and it sold out Antone's. So that was pretty sweet for the album release show. That was a really cool way to kick off putting out that album. And yeah, since then it's been really cool to figure out which songs people really love and everything like that off of it. And my favorite changes every week. I feel like when I'm playing them, it's like, this is my favorite off the new record. And then the next week it's like, this is actually my favorite off the new record. So I can't seem to make up my mind, but I love the album so much, and it's a cool chapter in the story for sure.
Nice.
Which one has kind of gotten the attention that you're surprised that it got? Has there been a certain song that surprised you?
Yes, and that's Where Do You Go, which is kind of what I thought would be like the sleeper song, because it is kind of a slower song off the record. That one gets streamed a lot more than I thought it would, and we really pushed My Rolling Stone and Wayside, and those are listened to a lot as far as that album goes as well, and people really like those as well. But that one's got a cool kind of inception story too. I wrote it with a guy named Jay Knowles up in Nashville, and Jay was he wrote "She'll Leave You with a Smile" by George Strait. So
okay.
Like, all right, this guy is obviously knows what he's doing. So I got paired up with him and wrote the song with him, and I posted like a picture on Instagram with him when I wrote the song. And I told the story, and this is true. The first person that ever told me that I had a good voice was this girl in my class. And I was like 14 or 15 at the time. I was singing along to "She'll Leave You with a Smile" because we were in one of the cool teachers' classrooms that would like have the radio on during the class if we weren't doing anything. And "She'll Leave You with a Smile" was on, and I was singing along to it. And she turned around, she was like, "You got a pretty good voice." And I was like, "No way, really?" And I told him that story too. And it's just kind of a cool full circle moment to get to write a song with that guy. And then put it on a record. And the fact that it's being really liked is really cool too.
I'm sure he immediately went, man, I feel old.
That's
still
exactly
super
what
cool.
I was thinking.
He did. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though.
It seems like we're not quite halfway, but do you think should we go ahead and do one? Which song should we play off the album, Mason?
Man, yeah, I can do one of the tunes off the last record. We're
Okay.
currently in the studio right now making the next one. We're kind of doing it song at a time. So we we just finished 2 tunes, and we're gonna probably do a full record by the end of the year. And next year, we'll probably have the whole record out by next year. But um, yeah, I can do that song actually.
Okay, cool.
Where do you go?
Yeah.
Here you go here. Where do you go? The stars command. But the pines in this sleepy little town. Did you find a place we never used to go? Did you dance with someone you don't even know? Where do you go when the bar shut down? When I'm at home and lonesome to the sand. If you're not laying here right by my side, the booze and blues can't hide you from my mind. And I wish I had a clue on how to just get over you. And it might help me to see how you just got over me so easily. Where do I go when the sun comes out and shines a light on all I live without? Shouldn't, but I'll probably keep on trying to find you in some bar, some starry night. And I wish I had a clue on how to just get over you. And it might help me to see how you just got over me. Oh, how you just got over me so easily. Where do you go when the stars command? Above the pines in this sleepy little town.
Yeah, man.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I love a song that starts and ends with the same line.
Oh, I love it. I'm a sucker for those too.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that.
What do they call that in movie making, where they started at
But your bookend,
yeah, bookend. Yeah, close enough.
maybe. I don't know. That's at least what I call it.
Yeah, no, that works. That works for sure.
You have a really distinct voice. Do you get compared to anyone along the way? Has there been any names that people have thrown out?
Dude, it's been all over the map. It's been everything from Randy Travis to Zach Brown. I've heard Clay Walker. Who are some other guys I've heard? I've heard some crazy ones where I'm like, I don't even hear that, but it's cool.
Yeah, I don't, nothing actually came to mind as far as when I was listening either. Nobody, it just didn't stand out to me. But so I
Well,
was just curious what all you would get.
that's
No, that's
That's
a
a
good
good
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good thing.
Mm-hmm.
like I
I
said.
mean, go
No,
ahead.
it's
Sorry.
like that. I had to learn to tone it down. When I started, I was just yelling. I was like a yell singer kind of, and I was just like, kind of lay into the pocket a little bit more and figure out where your tone is, basically.
Yeah, I know. I can speak from personal experience. I've only seen you live once, and I wouldn't say it was by accident, but to be honest, I was going to see Josh Malloy up in Canes, and that's where you were opening. And so I'd heard your name, but I didn't know your music. But I became a fan. Was not doing the podcast at the time, but I put it in my pocket for later. So I'm glad that that worked out. If I
Yeah,
hadn't seen you, I probably wouldn't have recognized when you came in the live. So things, sometimes work out.
dude, that was a fun show. That Canes with Josh, another dude I've gotten to know fairly well, and has had me on some shows here and there, and it's just so cool to be able to get to play in like these legendary venues like that. That's really been one of the most rewarding things about it, because you growing up, or at least once you get into this thing, you read about all the iconic venues and who's played there and everything like that. So that was a cool one to play on for sure.
Yeah, for absolutely. You talked, or you at least kind of noted that you talked about management a little bit. Can you tell us how you do the business piece in terms of, support team? Sounds like you might be doing some of your own booking, or did I pick up on that wrong?
Yeah, I do. I do a little bit of my own booking as well, and I was on WME when I first started, and then actually got dropped during COVID, and since then I've myself, my tour manager Carlos, good buddy of mine who also manages bands, Adam Oder, who's a producer down here in Wimberley. He's really helped out on the management side of things and helped kind of get me certain things. And so I just, a lot of it's still just in house, but it's a lot of using the connections and trying to make things happen and staying on the ball with it, basically.
Sure.
But hopefully, like I said, we're in the studio right now, and we're making music and trying to put a record together. So hopefully we'll have a really fleshed out team. We're kind of working on that, but by the time this new music comes out, so.
Are you hoping for summer next year, or I don't know, you maybe
That's kind
aren't
of the
that?
goal, summer next year. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I guess my other question in terms of one of the things that I think, especially when you start out, it's hard to know exactly how to handle this, but managing a band, what
Yeah.
has your experience been in terms of, finding your team of folks that,
Yeah. It's managing personalities, it's a lot of trying to work together. I haven't had any like horror stories or awful times managing band members. Just when you're at the phase that we're in now, a lot of them will come and go, but they'll play for a while and then just be like, hey, there's this other thing, or hey, I gotta, get a real job. There's
right?
a lot of stuff that'll come into play that shifts them around a little bit, but I've got a pretty good solid band now that I really love, and I always, it's just fun, man. When you get to like really solidify, okay, this is a guy that's gonna be at least playing with me for a little while,
Right.
that's a dude that's not only a great player but a great hang, and just a fun guy to have on the road with you. So I'm fortunate to have those guys on my team with me right now. So yeah, man,
Nice.
it's a lot. The trick is just finding guys that aren't hard headed and that'll roll with whatever, whether it's a live show thing, technical difficulty, or just like, let's play this song. I know we haven't rehearsed it a whole bunch, but let's just get through it. Finding guys that are like good enough to make that happen, but also chill enough to roll with that and just be like, yeah, let's do it. Because there are a lot of guys who are like, man, if they didn't have the blueprint
Right.
and the everything like that, and they weren't 100% prepared, they're not doing it. So there's a good balance there. They got to be good, but they also got to be able to improvise.
Right. And then the hang part, which I think you alluded to as well, at least from my experience, there's folks that are great musicians, but maybe aren't the easiest folks to spend your time on the road with. You know, that what I guess I don't I hate to say percentage, but how important is that?
That's very important, man. I mean, you know, um, I'm not going to throw any names under the anybody under the bus, mostly because I can't even think of them right now. But there are guys that that play in certain bands or did play for a while, or they move around, they jump around a bunch of bands, and most of the time that's like kind of a dude that isn't always the best hang. It's important. The bands that have been together for a long time are just the perfect storm of like guys that are really cool but are also really good, and that's always the goal for sure.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the percentage, but
That doesn't matter.
they're more than you think. There are a lot of good players that can't hold a job, so they bounce around for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure the name the like living in a small town in the music world, the name starts to get known for the wrong reasons after a short while.
It is, man. Stuff gets around with the musicians and everything like that.
I bet so. They're like, man, I really don't want to, but we need somebody, whatever, in those cases. But yeah, man. Well, that's most of your time. You know, the stage time is a small fraction of the your time together. So I imagine. I mean, I love the guys that I play music with, but I don't want to be on a bus bus with them for very
Yeah,
long.
yeah. We always say we don't get paid to play the show. That's the fun part. It's the getting there with all the guys, getting them all on the same page, and loading up all your gear, making sure you're doing it right, unloading, tearing down. That's what we get paid for. That's the the fun part is that hour 90 minutes that you're playing the show, because that's where it's all worth it.
Yeah,
There's a reason
definitely.
why Soul and I only do this 2 hours a week. 'Cause we can't, and we live in, way different places. We wouldn't work if we were together all the time.
Yeah, we're 10 hours apart. Uh,
Dang. Well, good on y'all, man.
um, do you ever find yourself when you have that band that you are when things are clicking, uh, like you said, for the hang and for the music? Do you find yourself like being proud as far as ready for the audience to hear what you've heard in practice and things like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Compared to the bands that are putting it together strictly for the job. But when you got buddies and you're doing it, you know what I mean? When there's a little bit extra than
Yeah.
the job, do you ever
Yeah, for
find like that
sure.
pride?
Yeah, there's definitely more of a click when you're up there on the show, and you're with guys and everything like that you really enjoy doing this with. There's always off shows. There's always shows where
Right.
even if everybody's in a great mood and they play a show, you're like, that one just wasn't there. It didn't have the spark. But when it's there, it's really good, and it always proves for a better show.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, and you probably start to read each other's minds, and you know what I mean.
Oh
You know where each other's going, especially if things start falling apart. You can rebound extremely quick if you're with the guys that hang. I'm sure.
yeah, oh absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, get to know each other's personalities on and off stage, so usually they become predictable, and that's good because you jump right on what they're doing on stage and everything.
yeah, that's cool. I was gonna. I like to ask this question when you're doing these opening slots, and there's people in the crowd that there's going to be some folks that know you, but then there's going to be a lot of folks that don't. Um, how, from your point of view, how do you feel when you see the light bulb going off that their heads are starting to bob or they're getting into what you're doing, and then they
That's
might meet you at the merch table.
that's the best feeling. Yeah, winning over a crowd that I always try and do that, especially when opening for somebody. Like, how many of y'all have heard of us before? Um, and a lot of times it's a lot, and that's always really cool too, because you're like, oh dang, this is these people that have,
Exactly.
they might have even bought the ticket because they saw who was opening, and they were like, "Oh, I've heard of this guy. I've heard his music. He's good. I'm gonna go to this one." And it's always cool when they sing along and everything like that. We opened for Wyatt Flores in Kansas, which was pretty sweet. It was like near Manhattan, Kansas, like K-State area.
The
And
Hat.
yeah, it wasn't the Hat. It was this
Oh,
place like this River Walk amphitheater kind of thing
oh,
that they had a mini festival at. Um, and there were like maybe there's this group of like it wasn't just a group, it was like different parts of the crowd. Of course, it was a huge crowd because he's on fire right now. But um, there were groups of the crowd singing along to a couple of our songs. So I mean,
that's
and then
great.
we played in Kansas before, so that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's always cool too. But yeah, having a crowd that never heard of you, but you realize you're winning them over. That's a great feeling. And again, that always proves for an even better show because you see that you're winning them over and you're like, well, we're going to play even better. I'm going to sing even better. And this show's going to have, more energy because of that. So I'm a very audience. I get jealous of the guys who can just put on a just awesome show regardless of crowd.
Understood.
Because I feel like it affects our show if it's like we play a show and there's like no one there. I really start to just be like, all right, go through the motions kind of, because I know that when I'm playing in front of a crowd that really loves what I'm doing, man, it's just, I can feel it. The guys can feel it. We're all just playing so much better.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a a tough test. But a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people are almost perform with their eyes closed. They wouldn't know one way or the other, But I'm like you. It would be hard to keep going like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Uh,
still run into shows like that here and there. So definitely.
well,
Part of
that's
it.
like you said, that goes back to the hang thing. If you got your buddies, at least you're in this together.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I can't tell you how many times we've all looked at each other and be like, that show sucked, right? Yeah.
have, one more at the top. I'll send it to you. What have you had any moments? Speaking of the merch table situation, where somebody has met you, just any, just a cool moment that you want to share. That if somebody's met you at a show or something
Man,
like
I,
that.
I met a dude one time when he still hasn't reached back out, but he told me he had like a cassette tape on his arm. He said tattooed on his arm, and he said if you write your signature on this cassette, like where the, like with
Oh yeah,
right,
On the
what
spine.
song it
Yeah.
was, what artist, I'll get it tattooed. I'll get your signature tattooed on the cassette. And this is like Midland or something. I still have yet to see if he held up his end of the bargain, but
That's pretty
yeah.
clever. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully he did. That would be really cool if I'm, my signature's walking around on some guy's arm. But I I've had a lot of really cool interactions after the shows. I still go to the merch booth after shows. It's the best way to kind of build, relationships with your fans and everything like that. And again, I've had people that have been like, that have told me we got the ticket because we wanted to see you. We love this song, that song. I always feel bad when they're like, you didn't play this song, and I'm like, dang, sorry. But yeah, that's a good place to be after a show, especially when you're at this point in your career and you kind of have to. It's a good way to keep people around for sure.
well, it's a from my point of view anyway. It's that's the people that you shake hands with and that buy something from you and you sign whatever, take some pictures. I mean, that's going to be your foundation. That the other may rise and fall, but that's the foundation that's going to be there for your career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you want to know that you put on a good show for them that night, and that's where it's reciprocated a lot of times too. I feel bad for the big guys that can't go to the merch booth anymore after the show because um,
It's just too much.
yeah, it's too much, and I get it. I get why they don't, but like, I just feel bad that they don't get that instant, response from people, to your face, like, "Oh, that was so great. I loved how y'all played this song," or anything like that, because it's cool.
Hmm.
Mason, how do you handle it when somebody gives you musical advice that maybe isn't musical or isn't in the business or whatever? Because I've seen that happen before, and I'm, it's always kind of wild to watch, but just curious how you handle it.
Like what kind of like marital advice?
No, sorry, musical advice.
But like non-musical, or when they give it to you, like
Well, like for example, somebody comes up at the merch table and they're like,
uh
"Oh, you should write this song," or
okay,
it seems like
yeah,
there's a lot of there is some of that happens from time to time where like, "Hey, I've got
Especially
this great idea
alcohol.
for a song." Yeah, you add to the environment and they're so excited because they get to talk to you, but then they decide to start telling you what you should be doing. I'm sure you've had that happen.
yeah, I have. I think everybody runs into that at some point. You just got to kind of nod and be like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, all right. You want me to write about what now? Like, why am I writing about this?"
Right.
um, and yeah, there'll always be somebody like, "You need this kind of song," or not always. I haven't run into it a whole ton, but when I do, it's just kind of like it doesn't bother me as much as I'm sure it does some artists. But I'm still just gonna do what I'm gonna do.
You
All
just used
right.
to letting it roll off.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just
I'm sure that this is kind of a more of a band question, but how is who controls the playlist in the band and what's on the playlist when y'all are on the road?
So I do. I write a set list before the weekend, and it's usually like if this weekend, say for example, we're opening for two different artists, so they're going to be each an um, hour set. So I'll just do the same one, and then I'll ask the guys. I'll be like, "Hey, what do y'all think about this? What song should we have? What song should we cut?" And usually get input, and then I'll rewrite it, and that's the set.
Yeah, so you answered my next question, but the question I wanted to ask you, which I probably just framed it wrong, I assume you all have a playlist when you get in the van when you're heading down the road.
like on your phone, like to listen to.
Oh, like the van play, yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
J-
Yeah, who's in
yeah.
charge of that, uh, and what would be some of the things that might surprise us that might be on that playlist?
Oh my gosh. Some of the my bass player has this habit of just finding the weirdest songs on the internet, like on TikTok or something, like just brain rot songs like to the core, and he'll play them in the van, and it's just insane. It's nuts. So we'll hand it off. It'll just kind of depend on who wants to play some songs that'll make us laugh, and then we get tired of laughing, and then it's just back to country or back to singer songwriter stuff here and there.
So
Sometimes we'll be like, okay, 80s only. Sometimes we'll be like we did a Creed only, like let's only listen to Creed the whole way home. So we did that like a couple months ago, and it was awesome. Or like
Everybody's all
we had
fired up coming out of the van.
yeah, it went from Creed to like then butt rock. So like we just only pretty much did like Puddle of Mud and that era stuff, and it was sick.
Nice. That sounds like fun. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but if you sounds like you're pretty committed to the music thing, and we're glad that you are. But did you ever think about what you might be doing if you weren't doing the music thing?
I have. I mean, and people have told me like, man, you be good at this or that, but I didn't come into this with a plan B, and I think that was the right way to do it because that's that's what everybody says. Like, don't come in with a plan B. So just stick to the plan A. I feel like if I did like sales of some kind, I feel like that'd be fun. My brother's doing like sales for an HVAC company, and he's doing really good. And I know I could do that job better than him. I tell him all the time.
Yeah,
But
that's a beauty. You don't have to do it, and you can just tell them that you'd be better at
yeah,
it. So,
you're like the guy at the merch table.
exactly. And then
right.
I'm that guy.
What you should do is
I'm that guy to him.
that's good.
That's funny.
Go ahead, Saul.
Well, I hear the baby. So we.
Did y'all hear him? Yeah, sorry about
No,
that.
no, it's not a
No,
problem. We're
we
we're
remember.
yeah, exactly,
I had
exactly.
twins at one point. Oh, good lord.
Oh my goodness.
I did
I,
not, but
Three
uh,
under the age of three at one point. That was a lot.
yeah, just wanted to respect the time, not complaining about that.
Yeah, we can get to
Um,
rapid fire if you want.
yeah, that
All
was my
right.
point. So
Yes. All right. So these are all, you don't have to think super hard on these, but Desert Island album.
ooh, man, what would the Desert Island album be? It would either be it'd either be Redheaded Stranger. This is a weird either or. It'd either be Redheaded Stranger or Continuum by John Mayer.
John Mayer.
One of
All
the
right, cool.
yeah.
That the studio that Redheaded Stranger was recorded at is currently up for sale. So if you got a bunch of extra cash on you, it's up. It's in Garland. I'm looking for
Yeah,
investors.
Garland, right.
So
That's
Garland,
cool.
it's like a suburb of DFW.
Yeah, man. If I did have a lot of money, I'd buy it.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Dinner with one historical figure.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Solid. He's a badass.
Hell yeah.
Ideal green room.
Ideal green room. The green room at Twisted J. It's a cool green room. It's like above
Stephenville.
Stephenville.
Yeah.
It's like above the whole bar. So you go upstairs and you pretty much see, and it's like really cool. It's got almost looks like a pimp's lounge or something because it's got blue suede couches and chairs and everything. Got a mini fridge, got a shower, bathroom, everything you need. It's not very big, but it's everything you need. And you open the door and you get to see the entire crowd. Like if you're opening for somebody, we opened for Eli Young Band there last time we were there, and when you get to like open the door and like you're basically on like a balcony inside of the venue and you get to see the entire crowd. So that was pretty cool experience. That's one of my favorite green rooms for sure.
Very cool. I haven't never been in it, but I've heard it's pretty cool. First concert that you paid for.
First concert that I paid for was Robert Earl Keen at the Cuero Turkey Fest in Cuero, Texas.
Very nice.
The mascot for Cuero is the gobbler, so everything is turkey based in Cuero, including the festival.
Very cool. And was that also your first concert?
That was my first concert in general. Yeah,
In general. Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I was 16.
Very cool. Bucket list venue.
Bucket list
venue you haven't played.
I want to say the Ryman. That's a big one. But a big spot at ACL would be really cool too. It's not really a venue, more of a festival, but headlining the Moody Theater, ACL taping the ACL Live would be really cool.
That would be amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore of songwriters.
Ooh, God. This one I gotta think. Okay, I'm gonna rapid fire this then.
We don't fact check.
No.
Okay, good. That's good. All right, I'm gonna do Dean Dillon, Guy Clark, Townes Van Zandt, and Billy Joe Shaver.
Very Texas. I like it.
Very Texas.
And then my last question is tribute bands, yay or nay?
I want to say nay, but those guys look like they're having a lot of fun when they're at a tribute band show, and they look like a lot of fun. I can't believe how much money they make. That's what I keep hearing about these tribute bands, and it almost makes me want to put on leather pants and do like a Def Leppard tribute band or something because these guys are cleaning up apparently.
I think that's what aggravates everyone right there is the attention. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be cool to, and it'd probably be tough to do if you were opening for somebody, but it would be fun to do a quick set, to intro one of your shows where you all just came out and did Def Leppard for like 3 songs
Would be
and had a break or whatever. Yeah. It would be
and
fun.
then just act like it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah. Just, whatever. So just an idea.
I'm going blank, but Dirk Bentley had this little project going on at one point where they were dressing up like an 80s band of some kind and playing songs without using their names, just being goofy.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was called, but weren't they playing like 90s country stuff or something like that?
I think so. They were just doing something that wasn't the same
Traditional. Yeah.
the same
That's
thing
cool.
that he would always do. So which he seems to be a goof anyway and doesn't take it way too serious, but but either way, it would be funny to open for yourselves. People not
Be
know.
hilarious. I mean, I think everybody get it.
Yeah. All right, Mason. This is the most important question of the podcast.
Here we go.
Yep, it started off as a joke on episode 1, and now it is a requirement. Uh, Little Debbie, hook us up. Mason, what is your favorite Little Debbie snack?
My favorite Little Debbie snack. I don't eat a whole lot of them anymore, but they would. Is oatmeal cream pie the Little Debbie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to snag those things, bro. From the gas station at Cobra Corner. That's what our gas station was called down in Inez. Because our mascot was the Cobras, the high school there. We were like 0-10, but we still had a lot of school pride. Um, yeah, Little Debbie. I mean, oatmeal cream pies for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Supposedly, Bluebell has an oatmeal cream pie ice cream. Somebody, was it Tim? I can't. Somebody told me about it. I have not found it yet, but
That sounds awesome.
I've heard it. It does sound pretty amazing. I don't even really like sweets, but that would be, yeah. So
Might be worth hunting.
But
yeah, just head over to Brennan, get
There you
the
go.
old Bluebell. Yeah.
Just run in there like very, perplexed. Like, where's the oatmeal cream pie ice cream?
I heard you have it.
uh, so 0-10 and still a lot of school pride, I think is a good line for a song. Just saying.
Throwing it in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a small town kind of song. Yeah, just.
So is
just
it
a
fair
thought.
to say that that could be the name of the podcast? Because we have to name each
0-10.
one.
Or
Oh,
0 and 10
10?
and a lot of school pride.
Mason Lively is 0-10.
Got it. Notes. I'm making notes.
Yeah, notes.
All right. All right. Well, Mason, we appreciate the time. I'm glad you went into Talbot's live when he was playing
Yes.
playing Zach Wilkerson, and all of that worked out. It was good to meet you.
Yeah, man. It's good to meet y'all too. I'm glad I did as well. Thanks, TikTok. Thanks for introducing
Thanks,
us.
TikTok. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys having me a ton. Thank you for taking the hour out of the day and me about me, man. Appreciate it a ton. And yeah, hope to get this new music out here pretty soon, and hope to see y'all at shows soon.
Yeah,
Looking
yeah,
forward
definitely.
to it.
Other artists, take note of that. By the way, when folks are playing music on TikTok and things like that, it's a good way to network. Because
Yeah,
if they're in there listening to country music, just say hey and ask about playing your song or something like that. You know what I mean? You never know where things like that would lead. So
definitely, man. Don't be shy.
just saying, yeah.